How did I become a composer? Very simple. I didn't become one, I was one. My musical talent was so exceptional that my mother still tells me today she heard the angels whistling in the heavens when I was born. If I was already conjuring up music from heavenly spheres on Earth back then, how it had to develop later. And it was unstoppable. The so-called piano prodigy at the age of 6. At the age of 12, already an accomplished song composer. I'd barely finished my studies when I was already a performed composer at the age of 17.
My great-grandparents came to Wiesbaden towards the end of the 19th century with one child who was about a year old, and my grandfather was in fact born in Wiesbaden in 1888. I never knew my great-grandparents. I never knew my grandparents either. Mein Name ist Yvonne Mocatta und ich bin die Enkelin des Komponisten Heinz Lewin.
Du bist die Sehnsucht, die ich im Herzen trage. In deinem Lächeln liegt eine Welt voll Glück. Und was mit Worten ich dir auch niemals sage, gesteht dir deutlich ein stummer Liebesblick.
In 1890, Moses and Chaya Lewin founded the family business Tabak- und Zigarettenfabrik Menes at Webergasse 15. 6 years later, the company moved to Langgasse 31 until it moved again to Rheingauer Straße 7, now Marco-Brunner Straße, where the family later lived at number 5.
They were very modern for their time. They were, first of all, the first tobacco company to put cigarette cards in their packets. They put football promotional cigarette cards in their packet, and they also established various brand names illustrating the counts and countesses and gentry of the time, and they embarked on a lot of advertising promotional efforts and had one of the foremost graphic designers doing many of their advertisements, Ludwig Holwein, who later on became very well known as for advertising.
It soon became clear that young Heinz was more interested in music than in the family's tobacco business. Our first glimpse of Heinz Lewin's musical career began on July 30th, 1904, at the Walhalla Theater in Wiesbaden, where the 16-year-old song Frühlingsglaube was included in the third act of the operetta Frühlingsluft. 2 years later, on June 26, 1906, Lewin returned to the Walhalla Theater, premiering his first full-length 3-act opera, Kurzschluss.
My first operetta was called Kurzschluss, quick end or short circuit, but it did what the title said. Since it was supposedly due to the libretto, though, I didn't get discouraged and started fresh on my second operetta, Der Prinzpapa. This was performed in most German cities at the time, as well as abroad in America, Spain, Italy, and Russia.
It is documented that his tango was the one that was taken up by the Berlin School of Dance to be the authentic music for learning the tango at the time.
Not Vienna, but Wiesbaden should in the future be the birthplace and stronghold of modern operettas. This is the intent of Wilhelm Jacobi and Heinz Lewin and the promising offspring of their poet-composer marriage, der Principessa. His score for Principessa indicates great progress and shows compositional development by the young rival to Leha. One may therefore prophesy about the young composer that in the not-too-distant future one can say that this or that polka or a certain waltz style is an authentic Heinz Lewin. Das ist ein echter Heinz Lewin.
He had a musical education. It is not very well documented, but he went to a school called the Spangenberg Institute in Wiesbaden and learnt the art of composing and also other branches of music. And he was there also at the time when Richard Tauber wanted to become a musician, and he was instrumental in persuading Tauber's father to let Richard continue his studies.
At the age of 21, I'd completed Morgen, wieder, lustik, currently showing at Theater des Westens, and at 23, Der lustige Kakadu, which was also performed in Berlin in 1913. Then I wrote various chansons, a ballet, and a rather well-received operetta farce, then enthralling Der Holländer. Now I've just finished my latest operetta, Der Schlummende Amor, in which I believe I have written my best musical work.
He composed operettas very early in the 20th century, some of which were performed in Wiesbaden at the Walhalla Theater, and later on in Berlin and in other suburban towns in Germany.
Hallo. Herzlich willkommen. Und jetzt gehen wir ins Walhalla. Ja? Ja. Wir sind hier im Walhalla, weil ich die Projektleitung für das Walhalla-Projekt übernommen habe Anfang letzten Jahres. Und hier vor Ort schaue ich mich des Öfteren meistens alleine um, weil das wichtig ist, um sich zu vergegenwärtigen, wie eine zukünftige Nutzung dieses Hauses aussehen könnte. Und wenn jetzt die Menschen, die hier restaurieren, durchs Walhalla mit mir gehen und mir ein bisschen was erzählen von den verschiedenen Zeiten oder auch ihnen erzählt haben, dann erfährt man zum Beispiel, dass in diesen 70er Jahren diese Wände mit kunststoffhaltigem Anstrich versehen wurden. Und das muss eben jetzt alles oder wird jetzt alles im Zuge der Sanierung glücklicherweise entdeckt und zurückgenommen, sodass diese Wände auch wieder atmen können und wir ein besseres Raumklima so haben und auch die bauliche Substanz besser erhalten werden kann.
Ja, mein Name ist Renate Albrecht, ich arbeite für die Firma Restaurierung. Wir sind Restauratoren, machen hier die restauratorische Baubetreuung für das ganze Projekt und schauen uns im Moment an, wie die Räume im Walhalla gestrichen waren zu bestimmten Zeiten. Und das kann man jetzt hier an diesen Farbschichtentreppen, so nennen wir das, sehen. Und da sind wir hier auf der untersten Schicht und ganz oben auf der jetzigen Fassung, also der Sichtfassung. Und irgendwo dazwischen bewegen wir uns in der Zeit in den 1920er Jahren, also wahrscheinlich in der Grünphase oder in dieser Beige-Phase, würde ich mal sagen. Das ist so die Zeit, die in den 20ern oder Anfang 30er Jahren, wie der Raum hier gestrichen war, also diese Flächen. In dem Bereich. Da waren hier die Garderoben, genau, und man ist von hier gekommen. Und dann ging ungefähr hier die Treppe los, ging hier hoch auf ein Podest. Und dann ging sie in die andere Richtung wieder zurück in den Spiegelsaal.
Ja, wenn man die historischen Postkarten sich ansieht, die man auch im Stadtarchiv sehen kann, Dann war das hier auch zumindest Bankett bestuhlt. Also man muss sich das hier vorstellen, überall standen Tische in Reihen und sie waren umringt von Stühlen. Und der Ort lebte auch von dem kulinarischen Angebot. Es hieß ja auch Spezialitätenrestaurant, war das Walhalla. Das heißt, man ging hier hin, um Varieté, um Musik und auch eben um Kulinarisches zu genießen. Das ganze Haus lebte und wirtschaftete, so ist zu vermuten, von diesem Konzept. Dort vorne sehen wir die Logen und es ist zu vermuten, dass in diesen Logenplätzen eben auch gegessen, gesprochen wurde. Man wurde gesehen, man hat andere gesehen und es war ein gesellschaftlicher Anlass, ein gesellschaftliches Treffen, kann man sagen, was hier stattgefunden hat.
He followed his composing career, as well as we can find out, up until the First World War. And at some point or other, it is documented that he drove vans, whether it was for the army or whether it was for cigarettes for the lads at the front, we don't know, but there was a record that he had to have a heavy vehicle license. And then later on, as his parents aged, and after the war, things were hard in the business, so he went into it for a while. But composing was always his first love.
There was another love in his life. On October 17, 1912, Heinz married Jenny Trabski in Wiesbaden with a ceremony at the Hotel Kronprinz, followed by a civil ceremony in St. Pancras, London, and a celebration at the Trocadero in Piccadilly Circus. The couple had one child, their son Rolf Arthur Lewin, born in 1914. From 1920 onwards, Heinz Lewin's family lived on the second floor at Luisenplatz 2.
Well, my grandfather used to open up about his childhood. He shared two very specific memories about his father Heinz. The first was that as a child, my grandfather used to rule the scores that were used for his compositions. And as a kid, I would imagine my grandfather, being a kid himself, sitting on the floor with a pen and a ruler doing that. I'm not sure if it's exactly how it was, but I was intrigued because my grandfather himself said he didn't read music himself. The other story I grew up with was that Heinz had composed with a parrot on his shoulder, which always conjured up this fantastic image of somebody who was larger than life, a little bit flamboyant, part of some kind of club scene. So there's these romantic images based on those two anecdotes.
The marriage was not to last long, only 8 years. Heinz's artistic lifestyle proved to be incompatible with the conventional Jenny. They divorced in 1922.
During the 20s, he and his wife separated, and she went to Berlin and worked with her parents in their atelier for fur trade.
After the divorce and the close of the cigarette factory, Heinz was able to devote himself exclusively to music and the search for new opportunities.
I think the bohemian life must have suited him quite well.